I think we were walking for like 6 hours and there was just so much that came up. I remember after that we felt like, whoa, we really needed that. I've learned like if something really big is happening in your life, just because you're not talking about it doesn't mean it's not affecting you. And that took me a while to like understand. And I feel like sometimes I've asked you like, hey, like, are you worried about this? Or is this like, do you think about this? Because I just don't hear about it. But that doesn't mean you're necessarily like not going through it.
Whereas if something's bothering you, everyone knows about it. Look at our schedules, and when we're scheduling our evenings or mornings or weekends, we're able to say like, are we prioritizing our relationship? And almost like design our weeks and design our months in a way that's conducive to a healthy marriage. So today we're going to be talking about things we do to build a healthy marriage. This is no particular order. We just want to reflect on 4 random things that we do that we think make us stronger as a married couple.
Okay, the first thing is one of my favorite things is go on walks. I love going on walks in general. But there's something about when we go on walks together, how much comes to the surface.
Triggers conversation.
Good. Like it could be about conflict. It could be about just like life.
Dreaming for the future. I noticed too that like being able to comment on and observe our environment. So whether it be nature or things going on in the city, it like adds this like connective tissue for conversation and even like provides opportunity for laughter and stuff like that.
I remember one time last summer, me and you drove like an hour and a half out of the city and went on a really long walk. I think it was like, well, it was a hike, but it was a walk.
It was way less hike than we were
but it was beautiful. It was like in the forest and there was like crystal blue water. And I think we were walking for like 6 hours and there was just so much that came up. I remember after that we felt like, whoa, we really needed that time together.
I think there's something about walking that slows you down. Like in our like transit / automobile like era, there's so much that happens fast. Like commute times have been fast. It's almost like walking together forces us to slow down and really take each other in, and then also take in the environments that we're in. So that's one. The second thing that we do is we are really patient with each other's processing styles, and we're growing to become better at that.
So we have different processing styles. I'm a verbal processor, like an external processor, and you're an internal processor.
I internally process, so oftentimes if I'm stressed or there's something on my mind, I'll just be quiet. Or if we're trying to like wrestle something to the ground, like a challenge or something that we've been thinking about for a while, I'll often need time away, whether to go for a run or to sleep on it before I can really meet it with clarity. And you'd be someone who is a verbal processor. Could you kind of talk about what that looks like?
So for me, like it helps me figure out my thoughts about something if I'm able to talk through it. And so, I feel like you've had to learn that about me in terms of just like listening and being patient until maybe I come to the end of what I actually think. And not taking every single thing I say like it's like truth, because you've learned like, oh, she might still be figuring it out.
So the way you show me grace in my processing style is letting me have time to just think and go for that run or take time to, and we'll return back to it, but you give me time to really lean into my style of processing. And for you, you're saying that I will just listen and give time to maybe ask clarifying questions. And
I feel like even from me to you, like I've learned like if something really big is happening in your life, just because you're not talking about it doesn't mean it's not affecting you. And that took me a while to like understand. And I feel like sometimes I've asked you like, hey, like, are you worried about this? Or is this like, do you think about this? Because I just don't hear about it. But that doesn't mean you're necessarily like not going through it.
Whereas if something's bothering you, everyone knows about it.
You know.
No, I think that was a good realization for us. It's just like, just processing differently. So I think that the note is for any couple, it's like whether you're both internal processors, external processors, the first step is really naming how you process.
Yeah.
And some people are a hybrid, so it's not like cut and dry.
Yeah.
But it's naming how you process and making sure to make accommodations for your significant other.
And that neither one is bad.
Yeah, neither one is bad.
Or wrong.
Yeah. And
so
I think
you can learn to
something
respect it.
that's important to know is like sometimes you can come from a family background that is all one way.
Yeah.
And so you think that if someone isn't verbally processing, something's wrong. Like
Yes.
say your family's like all like communicative, verbally processed. It's like as soon as you're met face to face with your significant other who is an internal processor, you're like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
You're closing me off.
Yeah.
You have a wall up.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
oh, maybe it's not that at all. But maybe it's instead your significant other just needs time to build even how they want to communicate what they're going through. The third thing is we plan periodic trips or day trips. So it can be as small as like a free hike in the nearby town, or it could be as big as like 18-day trip to Europe, which we did last year.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is one that doesn't require a lot of budget. I think sometimes people think that getting time away to retreat or to talk requires a big budget. I know a couple that goes camping a couple times a year, and that's how they retreat. And the whole trip, once you have the gear, is like, I don't know, $200 per trip.
Yeah.
Because they do food super cheap, they bring water, and they just make it happen.
Yeah.
And I think regardless of whether this looks like a camping trip or a trip to Turks, like it's important to prioritize it and name what you want it to be.
Yeah.
So I think it's, we have a lot to talk about. Let's prioritize that on this trip.
Yeah. Or like a trip we recently went on that was just like a small retreat. We were like, we need to rest.
Yeah.
So like we didn't make plans on like strategically planning our life or talking about anything big. We just rested and enjoyed.
And this is a small bonus tip. The bonus tip is if you want a trip to rest, plan a restful trip. I'll talk to people sometimes who feel like, they want a restful trip and they plan on going to 4 different locations in Europe in 10 days. It's like, that's not going to be restful. You're figuring out maps. You're figuring out restaurants to eat at. You're doing sightseeing, all these different things. It's just like, make sure as you're designing your trip, have an honest conversation with each other and an honest conversation with yourself about what kind of trip you need or what kind of 4-hour, 6-hour, 10-hour day trip you need. And plan it in light of your needs. I think that's so important.
I think too, like something that's common is for married couples to go on trips with other couples. And I think that's awesome and it's good to build memories in that way. But something I want to stress that's been important for us is to go on trips just us. To build those memories together, to build that bond together. Because there's things that you can talk about and learn when it's just you guys that you just can't do when there's friends.
I think that's really good. It's really good. And then the last thing we would do pretty regularly is intentionally schedule. So we use Google Calendar. This isn't a sponsored ad, but we do use Google Calendar.
It's Daniel's most used app.
And it's funny, there was actually a time where I checked my screen time last year, and it was literally my top used app. I was like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a problem, but it's the reality. Organized. Anyways, so we share each other's schedules with we share our schedules with each other. We're in each other's schedules. We plan. Maybe we need to do a whole episode on how we schedule. Because I feel like we can get pretty like specific about it. But we plan, like whether it be hanging out with other people pretty intentionally. We plan times where we're volunteering for things pretty intentionally. Work, events, all these things. And I think that what I like about this is like it's like budgeting. Like scheduling is like budgeting, in that it communicates or helps you know how much time you can use for one another, for others, and it really almost provides a bit of a container for all your different relationships, and it helps you be able to look back and say like, am I scheduling to what I value, or am I scheduling based on what's imposed on me? And I think that when we're scheduling together, we're able to like look at our schedules, and when we're scheduling our evenings or mornings or weekends, we're able to say, like, are we prioritizing our relationship? Are we prioritizing our marriage?
Yeah.
And almost like design our weeks and design our months in a way that's conducive to a healthy marriage.
Yeah, that's so good. I feel like so many people get caught in the whirlwind of their schedule and they're like, who did this to me? And it's like you did this to you. And I know some people have like demanding jobs. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just like your schedule as a whole. Yeah. There is some control you have over that. Yeah. And so, schedule to your values, and one of your top values should be your marriage. Yeah. And so there should be times, intentional times every week that you're spending together and learning about each other and making memories together. Yeah,
that is all for now. If you have any other ideas, if you're married out there or not married, but you have ideas for how you've seen healthy marriages operate, feel free to drop some ideas below. And if you haven't already,
please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you a part of more of our conversations. Yeah. And feel free to share this video with someone who may find it interesting or may have something to comment below as well. Okay, thanks guys. See you next week.